Hello, all you beautiful people, and welcome. If you're new, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you subscribe. For my fans and subscribers, thank you very much for your patronage. It means a lot to me. Today, we're going to be talking about Greek mythology, the fall of Troy. Not much else I need to say. Let's get on with the video. Achilles returns after Patroclus dies and agrees to lead them in battle. He wants to go immediately, but Odysseus, ever the pragmatist, suggested they eat first. The others, hungry and worn out from fighting, agree. Achilles waited for the others to eat, but he did not eat, and he urged them to hurry. Zeus had already decreed that Troy would fall. Unable to accept this, Ares tried to interfere, but Athena knocked him down, and the other gods accepted Troy's fate. When the Trojans saw Achilles, they also knew the war was lost, but they fought for their families. In the end, Achilles would not be stopped, and the Trojans fell back, escaping into the walls of the city. Only Hector remained outside the walls. Hector actually wanted the Greeks to leave Troy in peace, thinking that maybe if the Trojans handed Helen over and a great deal of treasure beside, this may work. Then he remembered that Patroclus had died and Achilles was enraged, so he had to accept the fact that there would be no peace. He thought the best thing that he could do now was to fight to the end. However, when he saw Achilles with Athena by his side, he ran around the city wall because the gates had already been closed. He brightened when he saw his brother Deiphobus, but then he realized that Athena had tricked him. There was nothing left to do but fight. Achilles clearly had the upper hand. Not only did he have God-forged armor, but he also had Athena by his side. The outcome was no surprise. Achilles killed Hector. Then Achilles tied the dead man's body behind his chariot and swore to throw what remained of his body on the funeral pyre of Patroclus. Achilles had gone too far in the minds of the gods, some of whom had actually been for the Greeks. The gods sent their messenger Iris to encourage Hector's father to go to Achilles and ask for his son's body. So Priam, Hector's father, swallowed his pride and did so with bitterness. He said he was the only one who would go to his son's killer and beg for the body. When Achilles saw Priam's grief, he returned Hector's body, promising that the Greeks would not attack while the Trojans mourned. Priam returned, built his son's funeral pyre, and Achilles did keep his word. After the prescribed mourning period, the king of Ethiopia, Memnon, came to help Troy. Achilles did kill Memnon, but Paris in turn, someone killed Paris a little while later, but this did not affect the Trojans as much as losing Achilles affected the Greeks. Helen did not seem to be grieving much either, because she married Deiphobus, Paris's brother, not soon after Paris's death. With Achilles dead, the Greeks had to come up with a new strategy because they realized that they could not win the war by force. However, this had already lasted 10 years, so they needed a way to end it. So they tried to gain the favor of the gods, but this didn't work. Odysseus came up with the plan, the Trojan Horse. Trojan sentries saw one day that the Greeks were gone and the defensive wall had been torn down. A large wooden horse statue stood in their stead. Of the sentries, only 4 mistrusted the Greeks. Priam's daughter Cassandra, a prophetess of Apollo, flat out told the Trojans that the Greeks weren't gone. But nobody listened. Apollo fell for her beauty and gifted her with insight, but she refused to become his lover. Because the gift could not be rescinded, he cursed her with never being believed. The priest Laocoon had no such curse, but too many disagreed with him. However, some went out to investigate to see if the Greeks were waiting in ambush. All they found was one man who told them that he no longer wished to be Greek. Instead of killing him, they asked him why. Maybe because of curiosity, maybe out of relief. His name was Sinon. He told his story. According to him, Athena was angry with the Greeks when they stole a relic from Troy and told them that she would no longer help them. She told them they could make it safely home, but at a price, the same that got them to Troy. The man said he ran away and hid until the Greeks left because he had been chosen as the sacrifice. He explained the horse as the Greeks trying to gain favor with Poseidon, building it so big that they thought the Trojans couldn't take it into their city, thereby gaining that god's favor. As well as being god of the sea, Poseidon was the creator of horses. Probably because Poseidon favored the Greeks, the Trojans decided to take the horse into the city. While most Trojans thought of a way to get the horse into the city, Laocoon and his sons opposed this plan. But Poseidon had always favored the Greeks, and the Trojans saw this as a way of gaining his favor while destroying their enemies in the process. The horse was brought into the city amid much rejoicing. People feasted, to thank offerings to the temples, and lay down to sleep in peace for the first time in 10 years. That night, Odysseus and others who had hidden in the horse climbed out and opened the city gates for the other Greeks from the inside. The Greek army, which had only sailed far enough to be out of sight, flooded stealthily through the gates. Once inside, they began to loot and kill. This wasn't a battle, it was a massacre. Many died while still sleeping, while some women and children were taken captive. Others who couldn't fight were just killed because the Greeks were angry about the death of their friends. Even though some sought safety in the temples of the gods, they were still killed. Priam was slaughtered in front of Zeus's altar. A Greek soldier dragged Cassandra out of Athena's temple, only seeing a pretty girl, not sparing thought for prophecy or the revenge of the gods. Some Trojan warriors actually did wake up in time to fight, but by morning it was clear that they had lost. Many of the women who survived tried to comfort each other, but they were lost in grief and confusion. Their piety toward the gods did not seem to count anymore, and their gods appeared to have abandoned them. They also disagreed as to whether to curse the Greeks or to accept their new lot in life. Hecuba, mother to Andromache, Hector's widow, suggested acceptance when the Greeks announced that the widow was to be given to Achilles' son. Agamemnon laid claim to Cassandra, who was also Hecuba's daughter. She actually seemed happy about sailing off, even talking about wedding dances, which her mother did not like. She explained that her joy was because her new husband was old and would soon die. Of course, Hecuba thought this was just Cassandra's madness speaking. Menelaus came out, and his presence temporarily calmed the people. Helen had to face him and the women of Troy blamed her for all the death and destruction, while Helen pled her innocence, casting the blame on Aphrodite. She had other arguments too, but they fell on deaf ears. The king declared that she would be executed upon their return to Greece, but he changed his mind. Many of the stories say that they returned home and lived long lives. Some even say that they were happy. Unfortunately, the story didn't turn out so well for the rest of Troy's women. The Greeks killed Hecuba's youngest daughter, Polyxena, at Achilles' tomb, and they also killed Hector's baby son, fearing that he would seek revenge for his father's death after he grew up. Achilles' son took Andromache away before she could bury her son, so the task was left to her mother. Afterward, the Greeks burned what remained of the city and enslaved the rest of the Trojans. But fear not, this isn't the end of the story. This may be the end of Troy, but it isn't the end of the story. Well, friends, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, press the subscribe button, and if you want to know when I come out with new content, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. All social media links are in the description, along with the source that I used for this episode. If you wish to join this channel, the join link is in the description, as well as the join button under the video. Keep learning and searching for truth. Here are a few videos from my library. If you have not watched them yet, go ahead and watch them and tell me what you think. Until next time, friends, stay safe and goodbye.